Hey guys, Panda Pirate here. Today I'm going to show you just kind of like a little bit more about my game that I'm developing. I've gotten quite a bit done actually since the last video. Um, some of the things that I have done so far, let's see here. We got some signs done. We got a switch done that controls doors. Multiple objects can be hooked up to the switch. Doesn't just have to be a door, and it will control it. So you just have to hook up the correct code methods on the scripts for the object that you want to control with it. So there's a little bit of setup, but it's pretty simple to do. And then I got platforms done, and I think that's it. Signs, platforms, switches, doors, and some like changes to lighting. Oh, I got the invisible platforms running as well, so I'll just go ahead and start demoing that. So here we go. It's my awesome little welcome message. The signs are designed so that they can automatically be read once you fall into the specific area or once you enter the specific area. Let's see here. Or you can run up to them and hit X, and then you get the message. So once you leave the area, it will make the message disappear. I tried to get the area tuned so that it's reasonable in each direction. The actual signs aren't going to play a huge part in the game, but it was just a nice little jumping off point to start with NPC dialogue and getting all that kind of stuff figured out. So there will be signs, there will be things that you can read in the game, but it's not going to be cluttered with all sorts of stuff just that you have to read. It's not going to be one of those games. So you will have to read NPC dialogue, but you're not going to have to just run around and read 15 signs to learn how to play the game. Let's see here. Demonstrate this platform here. Oh yeah, we also got new movement mechanics. I don't know if we had these in the last video. Gliding, I put balloons on here. It's like a little parachute. And then air dashing, so you can do a quick little where you don't fall, you just go straight through the air for a second and then you resume falling. So there's another move that actually was discovered because there's a glitch. I didn't do a check, and I can perform that check, but I'm keeping it in the test. It's that right there. It's like a super jump, and you can't double jump after that, so it's like a one-off super jump, or you can double jump. You do either or, and you can't oh wait, you can dash after that. So, or wait, can I change the direction of it? Okay, yeah, so you can dash once you do the super jump if you do it right, it looks like. So there's some things I'll have to work out with that, but that is actually pretty cool. I might just leave it like that, because that would leave some interesting movement mechanics available. And then you can also do it off the wall. You just kind of like turn away from the wall and then you dash, and then you can get away from it and you hit something and you can dash again. Provide some pretty quick little movement deals here. I don't know how we're going to limit that in the game. There might be a timer that prevents you from just back and forth so that you never fall, because that does seem a little bit excessive. But as you can see, the platforms rotate. I'm going to show you the code and how that's set up real quick. I'm not going to show you everything, but I'll at least go through the basics. So we have our moving platforms node here, which contains all the different platforms. I'm going to come select this one over here though, and show you the settings here. Now I am going to be removing the movement axis setting here because it's kind of redundant when you have the direction. So that will be removed, but other than that, it's a pretty handy object. We have a speed. We can change the amount that the object is going to move based on the actual ruler on the side, so the actual like pixel amount. And then let's see here, you can rotate it, so it will rotate based on an interval, and you can give it a rotation speed and a rotation amount. So every 125 pixels here, it will rotate 90 degrees, and it's going to do that 2 pixels at a time. We also have a debug option. So that's how all these are controlled. Each instance, you can kind of customize it and then set it up that way. The switch and the doors operates off like an area that when you enter the switch area, it sets the player's door switch attribute or property to itself. And so then the player knows it can use the switch. When the player hits X, it checks to see if it has a switch or if it's set to null. And if it has a switch, then it calls the switch method, or the flip method, blah, blah, the flip method on the switch object. And then that switch method controls whatever doors have been linked to it. So I'll show how that works, and I'll maybe show a little bit more on the code side for this, just because it's a little bit confusing. But anyways, the switch only has one property, bidirectional, which means it can flip both ways. And in the code, let's see here. Whoops, actually, sorry, it's on the door that we want to look at the code here. So the door, I'll just go over the properties first. We have the switch direction, so the switch that's associated with the door, which direction does it have to face for it to open the door, whether or not we want our controller to vibrate, how much we want our controller to vibrate while the door is sliding. And then with the small and the large motor, if the door should be closable, so once it's open, should it close? We have a debug option here, and at the very bottom, we have a switch path where we actually select our switch that we want to use, which is right here. Hit OK. And then in the code, we actually we use that switch path because right down here it's an export. We use node path, we set it to switch path, and then down here to get our switch variable, which we just set to null right up here, we get the switch path, we get node on switch path, and then we set the local switch path as well, because we actually have to send this to the door in order for it to like compare. The door has to figure out if the switch is the correct switch, because each door is set up connected to the actual switch through a signal. So each time any switch is flipped, every single door will actually, try to open if it doesn't know which switch is associated with it. So we actually have to keep track of the different node paths in order to do that. I'm sure there's a simpler way, but that was the way that I figured to do it, and it works. So other than that, the signs are actually part of the player's HUD, and so we use a reference rect here, and let's see, let's pull this up, and it has a label. The label has text, it has custom fonts. It's a custom font. I had to do a little bit of tinkering to get it to work and present properly, but the way that the signs work is actually pretty neat too. It was a little bit of, not, I shouldn't say it wasn't hard to get figured out, but it was different. I hadn't done it before. So I have an export updated text, and anytime the player goes up and calls this read function, when they go up to the sign works very similar to the switch in that it just sets a property or an attribute on the player object saying, hey, you have a sign available for you to use. So you go up to the sign, you hit X, it calls this read method here, and it's going to make that reference rect visible. It's going to get the label text, and it's going to set it to the updated text. And then it sets this to track stuff on like the read on enter and read once on enter, which is kind of like, it's like just the way that you want the sign to behave. Like when you go into the readable area, or I should say the visible area, the readable area is the big area, the interactive area is the small area. Interactive area is where you go in, you press X. The readable area is where you are, like that's where the text will stay the dialog box will stay up. God, I don't know how to explain that well. Anyways, I think you get the point. So these are set. If you want to customize how these work, you could even potentially remove the sprite and then just have an area where the player walks into it, pops up a dialog box, that kind of thing. So you can, draw any conclusions on that, on how it can be used. It just depends on how you want to use it. But I use it right now just to show a little message, and then to label things around here, just for people who try it out on itch.io. I have like friends and people who are interested, so they were like, hey, send me a copy if you can. So I did. Anyways, I think that about wraps it up. I think I went over pretty much all the new things in the game. I'll probably just demo real quick. I forgot to show the lighting. The new lighting, here we go. Looks a lot better, I think, at least. The invisible platforms are really cool. Oops. So you have your little like lantern light, whatever it is, and I made it so specific objects will disappear based on how far away you are, to make it a little bit more interesting when it comes to puzzles, that kind of thing. I think it'll be pretty cool. The game Ori, if you've ever played the game Ori, does something similar. It's actually kind of where I ripped the idea off of, so there is that. But it's a fun mechanic, and you can use it for things that aren't just the platforms, like these snails here. Like, you don't see them on screen. You could potentially hide enemies, make a ghost enemy, make it a little bit more interesting for the player. You can really make areas a lot more interesting with this kind of mechanic. See, the bird disappears completely. And also, there's specific things that happen, like if you see these fireballs here, look at what happens with these shadows right here. This is a really, really cool way to kind of get rid of whatever this problem is as well. Oh gosh, I forgot to switch out a Sprite. Anyways, you could see how that's just ugly. It looks bad. There's just, yeah, I haven't figured out a way to actually fix that with regular lighting. So when it comes to things like snails and stuff, where it's a little bit like, obviously, like right now I can still see the bird and the snail, so it's got its pros and cons, I guess is the best way to put it. So I'm sure I'll figure out a better lighting method to where I can make these guys invisible while also being behind these walls too, because that is a problem. That's a glitch. That's not something that is intended, so that'll have to be fixed. And yeah, that really does about wrap it up. So if you did like the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe. I surely do appreciate the support, and I'll see you next time.